All right. So I wanted to tell you the story about the moment I got my very first client in private practice. Now, I can remember I had been signed up, fast forward, I've established everything. So the PLLC is all established. My profiles are up and running, so I'm just kind of waiting for my client caseload to build up. And I can remember ferociously checking my emails constantly, waiting for that first client to pop through. And just a little bit of context here. I had come from working at a fairly large hospital system in New York City. So I'd never been through the process of needing to build up a caseload or anything like that. In that setting, a large hospital setting, clients are just assumed, right? You're at a well-established institution. And the problem is having too many clients, right? Not having to build up. So this was all new to me. All right. So anyway, I'm checking emails moment to moment, just hoping for that first client to come through. And I can remember the second I saw the email, I forget what exactly the subject line was, but it was something like, "You have a new consult request." I started to tremble. I was so excited, so anxious. It felt like the thing I'd been working for was actually becoming a reality, right? Up until that point, I'd been setting up the PLLC, writing all my profiles, but all of that is for nothing unless you build the caseload, right? And so the moment that first consultation request came through, I was like, oh my gosh, it worked. It was kind of like that, like, oh, it worked, right? All that stuff, oh, it's working. Now, mind you, it was my first consultation request. So I'm flooded with excitement and fear and anxiety. And I can remember treating it so delicately. I was making sure the response I had was really well crafted. I was being very careful with my words, and it felt like I didn't want this. It felt like a really fragile egg, and I didn't want it to break, right? This is my first consult request. I can't let anything happen to it. So I can remember crafting the email, double checking it, triple checking it, and then sending it off. And to my surprise, the client responds and is open to the free 15-minute consult. And I thought, wow, look at this. Look at me go. This client wants to do a free consultation with me, right? Of course they're open to the free consultation. There's no commitment. They're just going to learn a bit about me. I'm going to learn about them, and we're going to see if we're a good fit. And I can remember leading up to that call, again, so I'm excited, but more so I was nervous and anxious. And I think, the best way to describe it, I'm holding this delicate egg, and I'm thinking, oh, I can't do anything wrong on this call, right? I can't mess up my words. I've got to, present myself really, really well. I have to protect this. And that created a lot of anxiety in me. Now, mind you, I had been doing therapy for a long, not that long, but enough. More than, at that point, long enough where I'd, been well past my first client. I was trained in DBT. I had some years under my belt, right? And so back at the hospital setting, doing intakes and running groups and doing individual therapy sessions, this wasn't a source of anxiety for me at this point in my career. Yet I found that this initial consult brought back the same feelings of when I had my very first therapy session, right? So anyway, I remember getting into that call, and I'm shaking a little bit, it's just a phone call, but I'm shaking a little bit. And I remember really thinking to myself, I can't mess this up, right? I need to make this work. So I have the consultation, and looking back, I probably spoke way too much. When I get nervous and anxious, I speak a lot more. I think I probably shared not too much in a bad way, not boundary crossing, but I just kept talking about my practice, the style that we have. I kept talking about, the different policies and all sorts of stuff, stuff that I could have addressed in the intake, but and then asking the client all sorts of questions about their background and what they're looking for. And all this was coming just from a place of anxiety. And mind you, I had written down what I wanted to ask. looking back, I would say that phone consultation, it covered all my bases. I did what I needed to do, but it wasn't great. That definitely wasn't my best phone consult. Right. I was really anxious. All that to be said, though, the client decided they wanted to work with me. And I think it was a good fit. So we moved forward to the first intake session. And I can remember, I'm like, wow, look at how many stages you have to get through to get a client onboarded, right? They have to see your profiles and click it. Then they have to have the consultation, and you have to think, you have to be kind of a good match. And then then you do the intake, right? And what if they change their mind during the intake? And this whole time, the thing I'm most scared about was, one, kind of like breaking the egg and losing the client. But that was a fear that was stemming from, there's still a larger fear that, how am I ever going to build the full caseload? This is my first client. If this doesn't work, how's anything going to work? Right. So I moved through the process. We get to the intake. And again, I've done so many intakes at this point. I have all my templates. I'm ready to go, but I'm feeling like it's my very first intake. And I'm feeling really anxious and really nervous, shaking a little bit, I'm moving my mouse and it's like this. Long story short, we get through the intake, and it goes well. And the client and I worked together for a couple of years, until that relationship, the client ended up actually achieving all their goals and moving on. So it was a real success story. But the point here is not so much about the therapeutic relationship. It was more so about that very first client experience. It conjures up feelings that you might have felt like you had overcome a while back. And now these weren't bad. I mean, it was my very first time doing therapy in my own private practice, which is an entirely new experience than doing therapy as part of an agency. The therapy part's not new, but feeling like that tremendous amount of ownership over your practice and your caseload, this was new. Feeling like I was holding a delicate egg, that was pretty new. If I was to go back right now and talk to my former self, I would try to share with them that although it feels like there's a lot of pressure, don't worry. You will eventually build a full caseload. Clients will come and go. Not every phone screen is going to work out. Not every client is going to be a good fit. And just to remember that at the end of the day, the service you're providing is one that you know well. It's therapy. It's helping people. And to really not put so much focus on your egg is not that delicate, right? It's perhaps even the wrong way of looking at it. But that's truly what it was like for me during my very first client experience, my very first consult request, all the way to the first consultation, the free one, and all the way through the first intake. And I would say that feeling actually lasted probably a couple of months. Every time I got a consult request, oh, so excited, it's working, right? And then a little nervous and anxious. But at each step of the way, it kind of, the anxiety and the fear kind of dissipated. The excitement continued, which is really cool. And I still get excited now when I get a consult request and get to meet a new client or a potential new client. But I don't necessarily feel that weight that this has to work, right? And that just comes with time and knowing that some will work, some won't, and that's okay. You'll eventually build that full caseload. But yeah, I was just reflecting on this myself, and I thought this would be a fun story to share. I would love to hear your story about your very first client in private practice. What was it like? How did you feel? How did it go? Let me know. Leave a comment down below in the description. But yeah, other than that, I hope you found this helpful. At the very least, I hope you're more motivated about private practice right now than you were when you first clicked on the video. All right. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video.